you have not watched those trainings, let's make sure that we do that because it had so much great information. I'm gonna double check to make sure that I am recording. So I'm gonna click that. And if you want to just kind of let your team know where we are live, I know I let my team know, but if you are in the Dream Team Coach page, the KB, One Fit Fam, make sure that they know that the call is live and this is the link because this isn't our usual link as well. So I'm going to do a couple of announcements and then I am going to just go ahead into the training. My computer decided to randomly reboot right now and I was trying to use QuickTime on my phone so I could screen share some things, but it's not cooperating tonight. So it might not happen with that, but it is okay. I do have some just some options for you to look at as well. But let's kind of get into the call. So first of all, Summit it's coming up. It's actually pretty soon. I can't even believe it's almost here. But I'm so excited because we are going to be doing a Rise Up pre-summit event that is going to take place at 9:30 a.m. on Thursday, July 11th. So the Rise Up event, there's quite a few other pre-summit events that happen on Thursday that really help you kickstart the entire weekend. Melanie and I will both be presenting at this one. We are actually pairing up with Erin Hopkins and Maura Kukaba. And if you don't know who that is, she actually created the Rise Up Planner. If you don't have it, it's what I've been using. I've been talking a lot about in my team page for my tracking. And we're going to be talking about just really how to get the most out of your summit experience without ever feeling overwhelmed. And so it's a lot of motivation. It's a lot of mindset. It's definitely going to be an amazing training. It's not going to be at all overwhelming. It's just going to be hands-on. It's going to be so much fun. So really excited for that. And then if you also want to make sure that you know that qualifications are coming up too. So we have a little bit over a month, about 5-6 weeks. June 6th, though, is the last day to be qualified for a paid rank for Summit Recognition and for Summit Track. So if you are thinking about going Diamond, if you're going for 2-star, if you're going for 5-star, and you want to have that nailed down for the recognition at Summit, you would absolutely have to start qualifying by, it would be by the 2nd of May, so June 2nd would be when you are official. So I think I had that backward. Yes, paid rank is June 6th. Last day to qualify is the 2nd of May. If you need me to clarify that too, I can. You have to hold it for a certain amount of weeks, for 5 weeks, technically 6, because the first week is already the qualification for it. So if you qualify, if you start the qualification period by May 2nd, you would then have until, you would have to hold that until June 6th. And then by the time you're that paid rank, that is when you would be recognized. All right. So that means also it is going to impact your tracks as well. So a little bit different if you've gone to Summit before. This year it is a little bit different in terms of where you are able to go for your training. So they have divided it up a little bit differently. So Coach to Ruby is track 1, and they are going to be focused on hitting Success Club and the vital behaviors. If you are a Diamond to 1-star, that is track 2. That is about duplication and team growth. And then 2-star and above is track 3, and that's really how to grow and manage larger organizations. So if you're really thinking about, okay, well, what trainings do I feel like I would get the most out of? Which ones do I want to be at? You want to start thinking about the qualification period for those advancements as well. So again, just one more time, it would be May 2nd is the last day for you to actually start the qualification and hold it for that consecutive 6 weeks, 5 total, because the first week is already considered 1 week for until June 6th. So yeah, something to shoot for. And then also Melanie has put the Rise Up event in the comments as well. So are you guys ready to get to work? If you have your IG open, go ahead and open it up because we're going to talk through it. I don't mind if you guys are hands-on, if it helps you to kind of like look and see while I'm going. That is absolutely 100% okay. I'm a little bummed about my phone though. I don't know why it's not working. So if I do have to do a little bit more tomorrow where I just kind of screen share my phone, I can do that as well. All right, so tonight I am so excited because I get to talk about the Instagram grid. So I want to start by telling you that I was so anti-Instagram. And to this day, I am still not what you would consider like an Instagram fanatic. I don't spend a lot of time scrolling Instagram. I'm not really someone who loves like photos, but I love how Instagram works for our businesses. And what a cool platform in so many ways to connect with people that I'm finding just to be so much more difficult from blogging or just from Facebook in general. So what made me convert? What made me change? Well, I had put a lot of time and energy into growing my business page. And my Facebook page, it was doing really, really well throughout 2016 and even into some of 2017. And then I started to notice my traction was getting down. And I was having a lot of trouble finding people, like people weren't converting, and I just thought I was doing something wrong. And it was like this very mental game with my Facebook business page. And I was working with somebody on my Facebook business page, and I was just told that it's just the way that social media is working now, and you just have to really focus on spending more money for ads. I really wasn't comfortable doing that. And so I started to just think more about what everyone who is seeing success in the business and getting these pretty big numbers, they were all focused on Instagram. And I started to go, Katie, like, what are you doing? You know, if people are seeing results with Instagram, you have an Instagram page, but you're not utilizing it as a business owner. And so instead of just closing down my Facebook page, I started putting a lot of my Facebook where I was just sharing things over to Instagram. I reversed it. And so I made my primary focus my Instagram, and I made my Facebook business page more of my shareable. And I decided if I want people to find me, if I want people to connect with me, I want them to do it on Instagram. That is a very personal preference. That's just kind of what I found at the time, was just feeling a little bit more like I was connecting with more people. And I felt like with Facebook, I was just kind of like reaching for anyone who would listen. And I also felt like I was at this point where I wanted my Facebook personal page to just be a little bit more personal. And a big part of that was just, I've been working the business for 7 years, and I really felt like if I'm going to grow and scale, I want to do it like somewhere outside of my personal page. And so I decided to give this whole Instagram thing a go. And I started learning more about how to grow an Instagram following. So tonight, we're going to talk about a few things about what makes your grid matter. So we're going to talk about how you're going to connect your followers to your personal brand, or whatever, you know, your message is in your branding message. We're going to talk about how to provide your potential audience with a simple, quick decision to stay or go. And so with Instagram, and I'll go over this in a little bit more detail, it is not about like getting the masses to love on you and to like throw down like what you're feeling. It's to be like really specific with a very small group of people that are like, she is my jam. Or you're not my jam at all. And so it's like either a stay or a go without any hard feelings. And I love that about Instagram. And we're also going to talk about a way to share your big themes while still sharing your unique spin on what you offer. We're going to talk about IGTV and what makes it a little bit more grid worthy. All right. So first, IG grid writing. So here's the big picture of how it works. You have images, People see an image. They stop at an image if they like it or if it appeals to them in some way. Might not even like it. They might just find it appealing in some way. But you aren't going to connect until you start using your words. So we're going to talk about with IG writing. The nice thing is you don't have to do any of this in real time. I am finding that my best content is the content that goes out when I am more planned out. So I have started using an app called Plann. It's Plann. And I know I've talked about this before with my team, and maybe you've heard it in another training, but Plann is an app that you can download onto your phone. I believe that the desktop version is still in the beta stages. It might be open now to the public. I'm not quite sure. But Plann is the app I use to really sort of plan out, number one, how my grid looks, and also pair up images with what I call taglines or captions. So I am planning out my content. I'm reviewing the content from previous weeks using analytics. And then I ask myself, Katie, what do people want to see the most? So I don't have my phone connected, but I am going to share with you exactly how I do this. If you do not have the Plann app, you can go right into your Instagram page. And when I'm in my Instagram page, I am going to go right to my grid. So I have my grid up here. I'm going to stop my share for just 1 second so I can show this to you. And I don't know why. Is it showing me as the main speaker or someone named Vanessa? I don't know if you guys can help me with that. I don't know if you, am I on the big screen? It's showing you? Okay, perfect. All right, so once I am here, I can then go and analyze my insights. So I can see how a post did. Anytime it tells me that it's doing better than like 80% or 95%, something I said has resonated with the audience that is following me. So I know that I want to duplicate either the image, similar image, or I want to duplicate the context of what I was saying. So for example, right here is this picture of me where I'm showing a before and after shot. And I can click View Insights, and it's going to show me how it did. So when I look at this, it says that it shows me the breakdown of how many people went to my profile and saw it, how many people went to hashtags and saw it, how many people went from home and saw it as well. And then it also tells me a little bit more about how many people maybe clicked on this from the Explore button and then went to my profile and decided if I was worth following or if I wasn't worth following. And then it's also going to say if people like saw this and then they went and they clicked like the bio and they wanted to see my website. So I got how many website clicks from this as well. So I use my insights tool for this too. But I also want to show you that even though this is great, it's kind of hard to click through everything, right? So you would have to kind of slow yourself down a little bit to go over your insights. What I like to do instead is use, and I hope you guys can see this okay. I'm very sorry that I don't have my phone. I really love to use the Plann app. And so on Sunday nights, usually what I do before I plan out my content for the week is I click on performance. And when it's really bright, maybe you can bring the phone a little closer. Does that help? Oh yeah, it does. Sweet. I think that does help. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that suggestion. So when I am using this Plann app, I also then click on, it lets you click on your week, your month, your 3 months, and your lifetime. So I look back and I say, what was the best content that I put out for the week? And it actually shows me exactly what I did that my audience related to for a week. So I am going to break this down for you a little bit more. But once I see what they've connected with, I take those same big ideas and I just duplicate it. So if I know my audience this week, I talked about having a big butt, I'm gonna talk about having curves again this week. I talked about being a boy mom, it did really well. I'm gonna talk about life of a mom again. And you can kind of see them here, right? So then there was one where I had like a graphic tee, did really well. I will probably do another shot of me in a graphic tee, or I will do one of me in the closet, because I know that the content did really, really well. And then also like family shot, a before and after shot. These are telling me I am using these insights to say, all right, Katie, what does your audience connect to? What are the things that they most want to see from you? So once I have that sort of figured out, then I'm going to go back to my screen share, and I know what they want to see the most and what did go well and what didn't go well. I then go back and I archive things that didn't go well. So I say, what post just didn't get a lot of traction? Like, what post didn't get a lot of comments? What post did I maybe do a great tagline with, but maybe the image didn't capture very well? So one example that I have here, so when I'm looking at this, I can see that the one post I did, and it was my son and I on, and he was on my back, and I had my short hair, and it didn't do very well. And so I thought to myself, well, you know, this is a really, really good post, but maybe it was the image that got people up. So I'll just go through and I will not delete it, because anytime you delete content, it goes against you. So you're kind of like, it's almost like it counts against you when you ever delete posts, because you still want to be able to go back to and see like what you've done in the past. So you're going to click archive. And when I archive it, it just means that it's for me to see only. It's not going to be on my grid. So once it disappears from the grid, it's still that I can go back to it. I can go back and look at the content that I wrote. I can go back and look at the image that I wrote, but it's not on my grid. Anything that's timely, so if you're doing a virtual challenge group, if you have a coach sneak peek coming up, and you have those things on your grid, you want to archive them when they're over. So I think back to, if you go to the store and you see a magazine and it is for June of 2017, you're probably only gonna pick it up and be like, why is this on the shelf? So whenever you think of your grid and you think of it as your magazine cover, you're really thinking about what is aesthetically pleasing and also pretty timely, especially in those first 9, 12, 15 posts that you write. So when I'm writing, I think about everything that happened in the week before. And I think about, what can I give my audience that is still connecting with them, that same message, and repeating that same theme, and maybe like using similar taglines, but changing it up a little bit. And so on Sundays, I sit down and I actually write out at least my taglines for the entire week. All right, so how do we do that? So the first thing that I do is for IG prep, and even though this is going to be something that might be a little bit uncomfortable at first, it's gotten easier. And for me, I actually plan out, write, and select images that are in line with the content that I am putting out. So I am going to first select images that I know stand out to me. I'm going to go into my phone and I am going to click on images that I think are going to have this sort of stand out appeal, but are also in line with my brand. So you won't see me doing a lot of like action shots. There's a lot of shots that are of me in my workout clothes. People love the side-by-sides. So those images that stand out, I am then going to select and I am going to put back into my plan app. So when I pull up my plan app, excuse me. So when I pull up my plan app, it gives me an option to actually select photos and move them around within the app. So I can click on an image and I can kind of move it around in the grid, like where I think it's gonna look aesthetically the best based on what I've posted in the past. So I am going to like put all of that content in, and I'll have all my images ready to go. The other thing that I use is called Lightroom. And Lightroom is an app that helps you create the same kind of color scheme to everything that you're doing. When you use Lightroom on your phone, you don't need to pay for it. I believe that if you use it for your desktop, you do. So what I do is I just find filters and I create on my photos, I have downloadable filters. So I filter my images. So if you go to my grid, and I'll just pull it up for you. So if you go to my grid, you are going to see there's sort of like a similar color scheme. There's like these orangey blues, and it's because I'm using the same filter on all of them. So where these ones are a little bit more blue, they're all the same sort of pop of color. And I do that on purpose so that there's just that kind of like same appeal, almost like a constant thread between all the images. And I like to think of it as like Instagram is like connecting each picture as a piece of your story. So each image is filtered with the same type of filter. I go to Alexa Gene, and the filters are really inexpensive. You just download them right to Lightroom, and then whenever you are putting the image in your Lightroom app, you are then able to just copy the filter from the preset that you selected and put it right into your image. So that is how I get that sort of similar look when it comes to all of my images kind of having the same like bluish, sort of like orangey kind of color. All right. Do you have questions about the Lightroom part of it? It's really bright. Maybe you, yep, okay, got it. I never get any likes or comments on Instagram or Facebook. I'm a new coach too. Any tips? Yes, I totally have tips for you. All right, how are we doing, guys? All right, and then just like I told you before, you're also gonna remove any content that was timely or it just wasn't well received, and you're gonna do that by archiving. So on Sunday, just sit down. You're gonna plan out sort of your captions based on what your marketing plan is for the week. And you guys are all part of the Dream Team organization. So we all know that Melanie, like Megan, everyone sort of like plans out like what they're trying to market. So if it's a challenge group, if it's coaching, what your big message is that you're trying to put out for that week. Once you have that in mind, then you can kind of like plug in backwards. Well, what are the messages that I'm trying to say in my feed as well? Yeah, definitely archive. Yes, definitely archive. So Stephanie, with your pattern, do you feel like it would throw you off completely if you have a pattern? Like, does it make you feel like you're actually overthinking it to have a pattern? I like pattern, but I know for me personally, because I archive things and I want to get rid of those timely, it would almost be that I would have to select them. So I am almost selecting the whole, like if I'm doing things in order, and I would have to delete 3 instead of 1 if I really wanted to keep to that. Do you find that that's giving you a lot of results? Like, ask yourself that, like get curious, like do people love and follow you because of the way that your grid is laid out, or is it more just something that you're doing? You know, do you notice a difference in the number of likes and comments you get based on the content that you're putting out? Are the the memes, or like if you're doing like quotes or motivational quotes and you have them sort of in an order, do people like come to you just because of that? So I think you really just want to kind of get yourself sort of curious about like if you're doing it just because you've always done it, or if it's actually like bothering you more because you don't have the flexibility to do it this other way. I will say I used to did it, and I loved it, but I just find now that it's really helping me to know that I'm only posting like once a day on Instagram. So the content that I want to put out is really important that it connects with my audience. So if I feel like, well, I don't want to be doing a meme right now, or I don't want to be doing like a one-liner right now because it's not the content that makes the most sense for my marketing plan, it would be really hard for me to stick with it. So I don't know if that advice helps, but I feel like you just might want to play around with that just a little bit. What plan did you get for the plan app? So Katie, I got the lowest one when I started, but I actually run our other business page off of it, so I upgraded. But I didn't feel a need to actually get the upgraded plan kit until I was using another site. Yeah, it can limit. Yeah, so Instagram is really, it's going through this weird transitional thing. So I find when people come off as way too posed, it actually really turns me off. So when I look at like, and we have this sort of running joke, but when I see fashion bloggers always doing the same pose with their Starbucks in the car, and they have like all of their outfit in because they can tag their entire outfit, and then people purchase the outfit, it drives me crazy because it's so staged, it's so posed. And then I realized there was a time in Instagram where everything so staged and so posed was doing really, really, really well, but people are catching on to it. People are saying that's too staged. I don't connect to that. I don't connect to that. So if this helps, if you aren't like drawn to that, then don't do that. So if you're posting in a way that you would never stop the scroll on, it's not going to work for you. So ask yourself, like, take yourself out of it for a second and say, like, is this true to who I am? You know, am I really being authentic to me? Like, would I stop at this post and would I actually read on with what I'm saying in the content? You know, and sometimes it is just a funny meme. I know Melanie put up a great one about Beyonce, and I was like, oh yeah, that's total mic drop. That's so good. And it was a great post. It was simple. There wasn't a lot to it. And honestly, I didn't necessarily feel the need to read anything that she maybe wrote, but I connected with what she said just by the meme. But if somebody is holding the Starbucks cup and putting their whole outfit in and saying, buy this outfit from me, I'm not going to connect with it. So I just want you to ask yourself, like, what do I connect with? Because if you're posting in a way that you would never connect with, your audience isn't going to connect with it either. Okay? So magazine cover, yes, but when you have to use the stories so people get the inside of the magazine. The inside of the magazine is all kinds of messy. There's all kinds of like marketing going on. There's all kinds of tips and strategies going on. There's all your life in the middle and these great little stories and things that you share in the stories. But if you want to connect with someone, they have to stop long enough to see your content. Does that make sense? I hope this is making sense. Magazine cover is your IG grid. Your IG stories are like the inside of the magazine. But if you would not stop and actually look at the magazine that you're putting out, don't expect somebody else to come in and say, oh yeah, this is really good. I love how she has everything laid out. all right? And I just want to add too, some people love fashion bloggers, and so they follow fashion bloggers, and so when they're posting like that, and they connect with them, and they want to read on when somebody's posting like that, then it's a good sign that maybe you should be posting a little bit more like that. But if it doesn't appeal to you, don't post like that. And then the other thing that I always ask myself too are these 3 questions. Is it helpful? Is it hopeful? And is it healing? Because if it is not one of those 3 things, then you are creating so what content. So what content is look at me content instead of look at what can be content. When you are really posting in a way that's helpful to someone, that's possibly giving someone healing or giving someone hope, then you're on to something. If you're just posting because you're like, I did my workout this morning, and you don't know why no one is coming to your page, and your milkshake is supposed to be bringing all of the boys to the yard and no one is there, you gotta change up the way that you're posting. You have to start asking yourself, like, am I really helping someone? Why am I posting this? Because gone are the days of posting 3 to 5 times a day and hoping something sticks. If you don't have anything to post on that day, don't post. Just don't, I know that sounds crazy, but if you're just gonna be throwing out a so what post, take the time, slow yourself down, and put a little bit more emphasis into the actual content that you're putting out. Ask yourself, look at your grid, do a little bit of curiosity, like inventory on your grid and say, is this working or is this not working? What can I do differently? All right, so plan it out, right? Plan it out. Pre-write any of your taglines. Use taglines that you've used in the past. You can refurbish. Ain't no shame in that game. And then once you sort of know what you're marketing and you're like, all right, I have a little bit of a plan, play around with where you want your images to sort of fall on your plan app. All right. So once you are almost ready to post, we're going to go back to that plan app, and I'm going to tell you why I use it. It is worth using for the simple fact that it allows you to space out your content. I'm going to say that again. It allows you to space out your content. And there is nothing more annoying than when you have this beautiful post and ain't nobody reading it because it is one entire like blurb of a paragraph. And do you guys know what I mean by that? Like, because if you just post in Instagram, it doesn't space it right. It doesn't space it. It condenses all of it. So when you do it in the plan app and then you just take the content and you post it from the plan app, it spaces it all out so beautifully for you. And you're like, I don't need to worry about any of this. It's already done for me. So when you're ready to post, write up your post, copy and paste it from the plan app, okay? Then you are going to create a call to action or a call to think in every single post. So when I am getting ready to post, I ask myself, okay, is it helpful? Is it hopeful? And is it healing? And did I connect with my audience in some way? Did I draw them into the post that I was creating? A lot of times we want to have that habit of putting that call to action at the very, very end. But if you've just written out all of the possible characters in your IG post and you haven't engaged them in the first line, they're not reading to the very bottom. Have you ever thought about switching your call to act or your call to think to the very beginning of a post? And sometimes that call to think is just connecting with them from the very beginning. So for example, and I'm so angry my phone isn't working. I wrote, for example, this is awkward, but I figured since we have some new friends, I should come clean and give you the heads up if you're gonna follow me. Immediately connecting to people. immediately drawing them in to write more, but also giving them a call to think, because I am seeing if they want to know more. Another one that I have is, there was an incident in the airport bathroom that had me laughing until I was crying. I'm gonna have to share that when I touch down in SoCal. So I am telling them, you're gonna have to come back if you want more. So giving them that call to act by coming back and learning more. I'm so sorry, I'm like losing my voice. Sorry. Katie, I've thought about it, but I just want to be sure it works before I commit, in quotation marks. Yeah. So I'm already getting people that call to think that they've maybe had, or the objection that they've maybe given me in the past as well. Trying to find a couple more. That moment when you're preoccupied with loving on your pup that you forget you totally got rolls when you bend over. Relatability from the get-go, or a call to act or a call to think. If you're really like not sure if you can do the call to act, do something simple like put an outfit up with a side-by-side and watch as people give their opinion for what you're wearing. Sometimes just those simple ones where you're engaging people from the get-go, and then you have the opportunity to just comment with them and engage with them as they're commenting. It's going to refresh you in the feed as well. I'm trying to think of a couple more that I've seen. But anytime, yeah, if you have a tagline and you're putting it in the call to act in the very, very end, just move it up to the top. Try it there, test it out. And then the other thing to keep in mind is if you read it out loud and if you feel like you're pointing the finger at someone, like yelling at them in a not so connected kind of way, chances are they're gonna like put their hand up and be like, you're not my jam. So if you wanna connect with people, put yourself in the story with them. Make sure that they're getting that like, I feel you kind of thing. You could just share your Instagram on Facebook, right? Oh yeah, I could do that. I was throwing down what you were saying. I could. Yeah, but this is my Instagram feed. Trying to think of a one that I did the other day that did pretty well. Oh, this one was just like Queen. Dear Queen, like, thanks for reminding us exactly how the rock and world goes around. But again, I had a PSA. So I got people to read on with that, but catchy tagline as well. And I do that in my IG grid stories too. Oh, this is another one. This is a good example. This is little denim jacket is 15 years old. Is that considered vintage? Yes or no? So I had people actually comment if they considered a denim jacket was vintage or not. This one. Oh, this one did good. Don't be fooled. Vacationing with kids is hard and kind of went off. So people connect. So if people are like feeling like they're connected with you, they are going to act with you. They are going to start to feel like if they can trust you, if they can like feel what you're saying, if they're like, okay, I get what she's throwing down, then they're going to read on. So again, it starts with the image. You have a clear image, something that eye catches, and then it is the tagline. You want them to either get to read on so that they'll read your call to action with something that catches, or you are going to put your call to act at the very, very top so they're acting right away and then maybe reading on. So when you connect with them in that way, that is how you're going to build that authentic connection with people. So it starts with, do I like what she's putting out there on social media? Do I kind of get what she's throwing down? Number two, do you create a tagline that makes people either act right away or think and then want to read on? And then that eventually will lead to they want to click on your stories to read more. really what you're trying to do is just keep people to stay and to click and to learn more and to figure things out and to get more curious with everything that you have to offer. But if you're just doing that with a sweaty selfie and the sweaty selfie doesn't tell any type of story, you're not going to connect with your audience. So ask yourself, am I pointing the finger and saying, you should join my team? You can make $1 million, blah, blah, blah. No, you want to connect with them and meet them where they are. What's the best way to utilize your engagement with IGTV? Super simple, and actually finding this like really, really easy. I go live on IG and then I download it. I don't ever get a ton of views live on IG. But then I download it. I make sure it's always under 10 minutes. And then I create a title. And then I always have a link in my IG stories that either take them to an application or take them to whatever it is that I'm offering. So if it's a freemium or if it's like an application to my challenge group or an application to coaching, it is included in there. And the IGTV, it's catchy taglines, like the 5 things that no one told you about dieting. Or like, I bet you didn't know you were using this word and it's killing your mojo. So it's getting them to want to watch the video with the tagline. And IGTV, I love when you're utilizing it in your grid, when you're sharing it in your grid, they're rewarding you. Instagram is rewarding you for utilizing something that they have implemented, and they have made it something that they wanted more people to see. They want more people to go to Instagram TV. So the only way people are really using Instagram TV is if they're seeing it on the feed. So just kind of keep that in consideration too. Can you connect your story that you post on Facebook to IG at the same time? You can. I do it. I always start with Instagram and then share it to Facebook because that's where my primary business is now at this point. But you just have a link that when you're on Instagram, you can share it to Facebook. And I believe from a business page, you can share it to Instagram, but you can't do it from a personal Facebook share to Instagram. You have to be on Instagram to share it back to a Facebook personal page if that's how you had it lined up. Yeah. And yeah, it's through a business page, Barno. I'm pretty sure you can, but I haven't done it that way. So yes, I love IGTV too. It's so good. All right, so I'm just gonna go over a couple more things. You're gonna use up to 30 hashtags in the comment section. Use the hashtags. We interviewed a woman from the Plan, the actual Plan app, and she said use the hashtags. You are rewarded for using hashtags, just use them appropriately. So if you're talking about being a mother, use hashtags that deal with being a mother. If you're talking about just your workouts, use hashtags that deal with workouts, but don't overuse your hashtags, especially if they don't actually apply to what you're talking about. So for example, if you're using Transformation Tuesday, right? But there's no transformation, you can get shadow banned. So just take that into consideration. And shadow banned means that you're not showing up with the hashtags. So if somebody's searching a hashtag, you're not in the search engine for it. I always tag locations, and if an image actually connects back to another Instagram account, I'll tag them too. So I'll tag Marshalls. I will tag Nike Women. I will tag the Carrie Underwood line. I will tag, for me, a lot of my audience is cancer-based, so I will tag Stupid Cancer, American Cancer Society. I will tag F Cancer. I will tag all of those things if it connects in some way to what I feel that their audience would want. I do a lot of blogging too, so a lot of what I do is with bloggers. So I will tag Her View from Home. I will tag Motherly. And sometimes those sites, if they see the content you put out, they'll share your content. And that just brings people back to you. So if there is sort of this niche that you're in, that's specific, or if you've worked with other brands, small companies, boutiques, other business owners, start cross-promoting a little bit. I market Stupid Cancer to my audience. So Stupid Cancer, they market me a lot. So it's just also this idea of branding outside of Beachbody as well. I always store my hashtags in my phone or in my plan app. It's in my notes section, so they're easily accessible. And then just read your post to yourself. Read your content and ask yourself, does this actually sound like me? Because if it doesn't, don't use it. And then a super tip, super simple, is when you post something, put it to your stories. New post, shout it out, and then it will come back to your grid. So sometimes people just follow you for your stories, but they don't necessarily follow you for your grid, and vice versa. They don't always follow you on your stories, but they follow your grid. Start connecting the two together. Tell people where you want their eyes. Tell them where you want them to look so that they look that. And then just a couple of other tips for you. Keep in mind that your IG is like your magazine cover, right? So if you think about your magazine cover mindset, you want to make sure that it's aesthetically appealing. First thing is, do I like, do I not like? They're either in or they're out. Once they see the image, does your tagline get them to want to read more? If you get them to want to read more, you're starting to develop a connection. When you start to develop a connection, you don't just earn a follow, you earn the right follow, because you are genuinely building connections because people are really reading what you have to write. Ask close-ended questions. Don't just ask people, what are your weekend plans? Because then psychologically they start thinking about it, and then their brain goes to, what are my weekend plans? I don't know what I'm doing. Did the kids have a hockey game this weekend? Where is that hockey game? Did I actually take off work this weekend? I don't know if I did. And then you start thinking about all the things that go along with that. So ask a close-ended question like, are you going to be drinking wine or beer this weekend? Are you going to have a pizza or a donut? And just fun little ways that have them kind of quick thoughts. So their thoughts aren't like really trailing off when you ask those open-ended ones. Thought-provoking content. Gosh, this drives so much traffic. It is not necessarily related to Beachbody, but it is a connection when you are getting people to think. Just a week ago, I think it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I put out this picture of reading a book. It's like one of the worst pictures of me, and I'm holding up a book. And I talk about how I was reading this book with my son and how I can't get through this book without crying. And before I knew it, I was getting all of these people to say, me too, me too, me too, me too. And it had nothing to do with Beachbody. It had nothing to do with being a coach. And it had everything to do with being a human and being a mom and being a cancer survivor and being vulnerable. And people saw that, and they saw a little bit of themselves in my story. They saw a little bit of themselves when they're reading that book to their child. They saw a little bit of themselves when they were a child, feeling when they heard that book read to them. So it was very story driven. In no way join my challenge group, in no way, be a coach on my team, but I created a connection. And once I created that connection and people say, is this my person, or did they just create one great post? They're either going to be in or they're out. The objective is to get people to connect with you. Ask yourself, do I want to direct them when they read to the end? Where do I want them to go when they read to the end? So at the end of your post, where do you want them to go? Bio, stories, comments, link. Where do you want them to go? What do they want to do? And then I always keep a back pocket post. And a back pocket post is just something that I've laughed at, I've screenshot, I've shared before that I give maybe another person credit for, but I post when I really don't have any other content that I necessarily have for the day. I just always kind of keep one sort of in my back pocket just in case I don't have that. And then the other tip I have for you that's working really well for me is I don't post more than one time a day on my grid. I don't. I find that it doesn't, I compete against myself when I actually put more than one piece out on my grid. Now stories, at least 10 stories a day for the most part. But when it comes to my grid, one a day. And then if I get above a 2% in terms of conversion, and you can find that on the Plan app. But basically a 2% conversion means that 2% of your audience connected with your post in some way. If you had, like this one was like 4.2, I'm not gonna put another post out there like right away, because I know that it's still being seen in the Explore button and I want people to go to that post. So if you're looking at your content, anything above a 2% of your audience is amazing. It's actually very, very good. So definitely look at your content. If you see anything at 2%, there's something there that connects with your audience really, really well. Between posting to grid and posting to stories. So if you're super new to IG, your stories, go to the training that Melanie did last week. Your stories are live, or they're like little images that go into like the icon at the top of your page. So I'll just show you. So this is your grid. All of this here is your grid. And then this is your stories. So when you click on your stories, you'll be able to watch like a little bit of an insight. So you can see that this is an insight into who Katie Erstedt is, what she has to offer, and just my business, right? But when you look at my grid, it is just the post that you see on the homepage. This is all grid. Does that make sense, Allison? And Stacy, I post at different times. I have found midday doesn't work well. Morning and night work really well for me. And anytime Saturday and Sunday tend to work pretty well. We want to use, Andrea, shoot, Melanie, are you still on? I can't find the color coding there at the moment.
I'm here.
What's the color coding again? Do you remember what they were?
Mine is the color we want to use with the hashtag. Oh, yes. It is, we always want to be in the blue. I'm going to go look right now. Hold on. It is.
It's not the green, is it?
No. Let me go in here. Okay. So if I put in a hashtag like mom, so never red, right? So never red.
Never red.
You want green is okay, but blue is your best option.
Yeah.
That's what we got. Yep, sure.
All right, and then lastly, I'm just gonna like finish this out. Drive a consistent theme between your grid and your stories. So you will see me talk about confidence. You'll see me talk about body image. You'll see me talk about motherhood and my faith. Those are things I talk about on my grid. Those are things I talk about in my story, but in a more real and candid way on my like real time in my stories, I should say. I know, Emily, I do the same thing because in green, I go, it means go. Aim for IG posts every day. If it's above 4% engagement, I skip a day. So if it posted above 4% for me, I don't post the next day because it's still going in the Explore button. Use IG to showcase successes, stories, your own successes, and more. I read that wrong. Use IG to showcase success stories, your own success, and so much more. So that's what I do on my grid. It's definitely by far like changed in the past 6 months. It is my primary source for marketing. It is where I get most of my clients. Now at this point, most of my business is done there. Yes, I still show up on Facebook, but for the most part, my content and where I really feel like I'm getting the most people is going to be on Instagram. So I will stay on for a couple more minutes if you guys have questions. I know it's super, super late and there's so many things I could talk about with Instagram. I almost wonder if like just a Q&A would be so good to do. But I'm more than happy to answer any questions on what I've learned in the past like year, and especially the changes I've seen in the last 6 months. So yeah, I can stop my share too. You guys have any? Let me see. On IG, what are insights? Okay, so if you go into your Instagram and you click on any picture that you see, and then at the very bottom of the picture, when you're logged in, so when I'm logged in, so I have like me with my family, there's a little blue icon that says like view insights. You can click it, you can scroll up, and it's gonna tell you how well that post did. So it's gonna just give you a little bit more of an insight into how the post did. The other thing that you can do is those little bars that are at the very, very top of your Instagram also has an insights tool for you. And it will give you like your feed and your stories, and it will tell you how well it did, right? So it will show you like how many views on your stories you've had, how well a post did. It just it just says to me like which posts are doing the best. So this gives me like an insight into everything that I've posted and what's done the best. So I just know as a marketer and as somebody who's like branding myself, I am going to put out the content that does really well. I'm just going to keep duplicating the things that do really well. When I talk about curves, when I talk about confidence, when I talk about cancer, when I talk about my faith, when I talk about how messy motherhood is, those are truly the things people want to hear from me. And they don't really follow me for meal planning. They don't really follow me for necessarily nutritional tips, but they are going to follow me when I'm talking about sweating for something bigger. So once I understood the insights and started actually using the insights and learning from them and getting curious about it, my content got better. My connections got better, and the audience that I could speak to, the right audience, started coming in. And it was only because I was learning. I wasn't getting frustrated and angry with Facebook. Hi, Albie. Hi, baby girl. Yeah, because I'm like probably gonna go to bed right after this. A baby girl. So I will put that content, like when I look at that content, I say, all right, this is what my audience wants to see. And I feel good about, and I always feel good about the posts that do good, because I always know that they're just coming very authentic. If you don't feel good about the content you're putting out, it's probably because you don't feel like you're being true to yourself. Can you only see the insight button on mobile? Yeah. I can't see it on the laptop. Nope. I know this was a lot. Is there anything that if you think of it too, even if you message me like and ask me like, is there something specific that I didn't cover that you want me to cover? I really think the biggest difference is like the hashtags, they matter. Number one, and number two, really connecting with other brands. I feel like that has made a difference for my business, because it's just being seen by other people, even small boutiques, local, not local. Collabs are big and they're fun. I really have learned a lot from other business owners, like a lot from other business owners. All right. Anything else? How do you know about who's seeing your post? Not insight. What was the other you said? In plan, the performance. I think is what you're referring to. Maybe. It's still the insights tool. I think I'm getting your question right. It's still the insights tool. So if you just click on the 3 bars at the very top and then you click insights, it does, like if you go to stories, you can actually see like who has actually seen your post. So like today, this was my son playing hockey. I can go in and I can actually see the people who have seen my post. I don't know if you can see that there. Yeah. So you can go in, you can click on a post, and then you can see the people who have seen it. Yeah. Well, if you want to see the people who have liked a post or commented on a post, you would just go to the post and you could click on like the likes, and then you would click on like all the people and they would pop up. So like the people would pop up who liked a post. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Covered a lot. It's a lot. Break it down. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just take one thing from this call and implement it. And don't say, I should do that. Just say, I must do that. I will do that. I'm doing that. Anything else, guys? Okay, I hope this information was helpful. I will get the recording out tomorrow. Have a great night, guys. You're welcome.